Good afternoon. Welcome everyone to the pre-meeting workshop regarding the joint Board of County Commission and school board meeting in preparation for that meeting. Welcome everyone. We are looking for Commissioner Kemp. She should be joining us hopefully soon. But in the meantime, we'd like to get started. And Ms. Wise,
I'm here.
Oh, excellent. All right. Chair, if you're ready, I'll hand the gavel back to you and have recognized Ms. Wise.
Great.
We have not done a roll call.
Okay, so let's do a so this is the workshop on school siting. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties there. And if we'll start with a roll call at this time, clerk.
Good afternoon, Kemp.
Here.
Cohen.
I'm here and I can see you.
Hagan.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Overman.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
White.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Right. Thank you. And with that, we'll turn it over to Ms. Wise.
Thank you. And as you mentioned, this is the pre-meeting for the workshop that we have with the school district. In January, the board requested that a workshop be scheduled with the school board to discuss school siting issues with the intent. Are you all hearing feedback as well?
Yes, there's some feedback going on. If everyone could turn off their mics.
Okay, thank you. With the intent that the two bodies would work together toward finding solutions to existing school siting challenges. And we're holding this pre-meeting with you today, and staff will be meeting with school district administration tomorrow afternoon to identify topics of discussion for the BOCC school board workshop, which is scheduled for April 14th. So the purpose of today's meeting is to hear from you and to identify the specific outcomes or policy items that are important to you, which we can then raise with the school district administration tomorrow for discussion at the joint workshop. So I'm going to turn it over to Adam Gormley, who's going to briefly provide background information about the school siting process in general, as well as the county's role in evaluating and approving new schools throughout unincorporated Hillsborough County. So with that, if we can turn it over to Adam.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Adam Gormley, Development Services. I'm going to run through, as Ms. Wise said, an overview of the current school siting process and generally the school concurrency system that we have in place and how the two relate. Our school siting process is grounded in an interlocal agreement that we have between or among the county, the planning commission, and the school board. This interlocal agreement is required by state statute, and the purpose of the interlocal agreement is to establish specific ways in which the plans and processes of the school board and the county are to be coordinated. It also includes the process and criteria for evaluating new school sites and significant improvements to existing school sites. The agreement provides for two different type of processes depending on whether a school site is, whether it's an elementary, middle school, or high school. And I'm sorry, I'll back up for a second. The interlocal agreement establishes that school sites are potentially considerable, can potentially be considered in all zoning districts except for manufacturing and the airport districts. These are zoning districts that surround currently Tampa International Airport. And requires that any school site be evaluated for consistency with the interlocal agreement and also with the public schools facilities element that's currently in the comprehensive plan. The school siting process for elementary and middle schools is an administrative process. The way that process works is the school district will submit to the county a request for consideration of a school site, and we have a 45-day period to evaluate that request and render a finding of both consistency with the comp plan, which is provided by the Planning Commission staff, and an overall approval or otherwise of the school site. The interlocal agreement requires that we consider numerous factors in siting of schools. A lot of these are not particularly have not been challenges per se, and some of them are fairly sensible, looking at whether there's environmental constraints on the site, whether it be adverse impacts on archaeological or historical resources, whether it's in a airport approach or takeoff flight path, whether it's located adjacent to wastewater plants or proximity to landfills. Those, but have not been substantive issues in the review of school sites. The issues that we have run into, say some challenges on, is that one of the factors that needs to be considered is whether adequate public facilities are or will be available concurrent to support the proposed school. The process also calls for a determination of the need for and timing of all on-site and off-site improvements in public facilities that are necessary to support the school. Assuming that those are found to be met, the school site is approved, and the school then would go through a construction plan engineering review, just like any other development project would, with a couple of exceptions. The school site, the county is not. We are actually precluded from looking at the operation of the school site interior for school purposes, but we can and do look at the design of the school site for impacts, either environmental or off-site impacts, such as traffic and circulation around the school and access thereto. And those are things that we routinely look at with the school, with approved school sites. If the siting request is for a high school, the process is, the criteria is the same. However, the process is that it would go to a land use hearing officer in the course of a notice public hearing, and that land use hearing officer would make the decision on the high school. In either of those cases, any decisions that are rendered, whether it's administrative or a LUHO decision, there is an ability of an appeal of either of those decisions to the Board of County Commissioners. The other way schools get cited is if a school is or is proposed to be located in a planned development zoning, to be added to planned development or considered in a new one. Those do go to the Board of County Commissioners for decision. The interlocal agreement prescribes that those would come, the addition of a school would come as a major modification to the board, which means it would go to the zoning hearing master first, and then to the board. And of course, any new PDs with school sites do go through that same process of LUHO to or ZHM to the board. I will note that there have been several plan developments that we've brought to the board recently that have had reservations of school sites in them. And I'd just like to point out the distinction between those actions and the citing process. Those school sites were ones that didn't go through the actual school citing review process. So the factors in the agreement have not yet been considered for those sites. The reservation were made to ensure that other development couldn't occur on those reserved school sites, and some of them do have timeframes associated with it. One of them is 3 years, and one of them is 5 years that the site can only be developed for a school site. But the conditions do provide that before a school site's actually developed, it would need to go through the citing review, and those again would come back as a major modification to the board. It's an issue that has arisen between the school district and county staff and in discussions about school sites. There is an outstanding, I'd say, difference of viewpoint on what the county can require in terms of infrastructure to serve schools, what the county can require the school district to provide. I believe that we have the authority to require them when the improvement is contiguous, meaning touching at a point on a school site. So, for instance, an access road that would lead to a school. I believe the school district has a different viewpoint on that, and that may be something that we have a beneficial discussion on with the school district staff in advance of the workshop. But I did want to let the board know that there is a difference of opinion or position on that element. In terms of adequate public facilities, this is something that we have been listening to the board on and taking the board's input and emphasis on what really is adequate infrastructure to support a school, and understand that the positions expressed about the importance of connectivity of a school for not just roadways, but also for walkers and bikers, and having adequate sidewalk connections to schools. I'm going to just briefly touch on school concurrency as well. It's a whole separate process than the school citing process. There is a relationship between the two. We have the county has adopted school concurrency, and we've adopted it on a concurrency service area basis. And the way that school concurrency works is it's a test that gets applied to a development project at the time of permitting, either at the initial stage of creating a subdivision, which would be a preliminary plat, or a site plan for a multifamily project. And the students that are presumed to be generated by that project are reviewed by the school district to determine whether there's adequate capacity in existing or planned schools to accommodate those the students that would be generated. If they pass that test, meaning that there is capacity available, then the project can proceed through the development process. If the project does not, there isn't adequate capacity, then the project needs to hold at that point and can't progress further until some capacity is made available for the impacts of the project. You board members will see these regularly or somewhat regularly as proportionate share agreements. And these are agreements that whereby the developer or applicant would make a contribution to the school district to build student stations to accommodate the project. Each one of these that have been brought to you have been for schools that have been that can get built. So they've been either approved through the siting process or previously approved in plan developments, so that when those come to you, that there is we know that those schools can get built and they've passed the siting test of the county concurrency system. We'll point out that a couple things on concurrency. There is a 3-year availability period. That is the standard is that the school seats are there or will be available within 3 years. I know there was a question about that 3 years, and that is a statutorily required time frame. So that 3 years is a requirement of state law, and it is something that we have to adhere to. Again, the school sites that do come to the board have all been approved through that for proportionate share agreements, have all been approved through the siting process. So the relationship between the two is that if there are not schools that are sited and can get built, it does pose a challenge for being able to move forward with a prop share agreement, because we don't know that there will be a school in place that would accommodate the students created. That is a very high level view of the siting process, and I wove in a little school concurrency. Are there any questions at this point about the process that I did go through at a kind of a high level that the board has at this time for me?
I see that Commissioner Overman has her hand raised. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Adam, for explaining that. I just have a couple of questions. You made mention of an actual siting process versus the reservation process.
Yes.
So two related questions. The reservation process still has to be met with an identifying where it is or where it will be, and then go through the siting process within that 3-year period for the proportionate share. Is that accurate?
Yes. So the reservation period is something that is a limiter on the development itself. So in each of these cases, there's a school site reserved or land reserved for potential site if pursued. And so the time limits, those conditions will have alternative uses that could be put on the property. So if there's a decision not to pursue a site, then other already uses in the site on that land, it's not new uses, it's just they can go on the site. The 3 and 5 year periods are basically that the developer property owner can't put anything different on the land than a school site. So it gives time for the planning and decision making about what school sites to pursue and time for the siting process to be pursued.
Okay.
That being said, that's the control that we put on there. There's nothing in these that precludes a property owner from holding it out for a period of time longer than that. That's just a minimum time that we've put in there to keep that land potentially available and not able to be developed as another use.
Okay, so my question really lies in whether it's a reservation or whether it's a school siting that is indicating that there would be additional capacity for students at that point. Are those numbers from the capacity calculations in any later proportionate share agreements. In other words, if that school siting has indicated that there's going to be 300 kids at that location, and it happens to be an elementary school or a middle school, so until it's built, that capacity is not really there. But is it considered there on any later, projects or developments that are doing the capacity calculations for students for additional development? Because what we're seeing now is, for example, with the high school with T, is that is already over capacity, or we're shifting schools to it because we were under over capacity in the middle school ages by the time that school was going to be completed. So I'm curious about how we could find ourselves with, the day one overcrowded school if we've done the capacity calculation and the siting and concurrency agreements correctly. That's one issue that I'm trying to get my head around. And then when there's a difference of opinion on how to make sure the infrastructure is there when the school gets there, because the county has to also know whether or not we have the capacity to build the infrastructure around it. Do we have a 3-year timeline for making sure that that infrastructure is in place when the school gets built?
So I'll take both. I'll take the first question. And I think that the first question is a really good question. And I think that's one of the things that we want to explore with the school or talk with the school district staff on how the tracking takes place. But I'll tell you generally, if a school site is simply reserved, those are not counted as student seats that are available to serve development. It's not until the school is cited or or put by the school district in the first 3 years of their work program.
So my question really relates to if, for example, they missed the 3-year deadline.
Yeah.
Or it got cited, but it's been 20 years and they haven't built, and now we have to go back every 5 years to re-up that permit. But that's not the case for a lot of permits that are already approved. If any of those outstanding, long-standing permit approvals have school sightings on them, and yet the school has not been built in 3 years, is that capacity still on the books?
It is not. We'll explore this a bit further, but to make sure that the school district and we are on the same page with this. But the sites that have reserved school sites are not counted as schools or student stations available for students. It's one step back in the process. It's a reservation of land to ensure that it stays available should the district choose to pursue it for a school. But those reserved land areas are not counted as student seats. So we're not creating a sort of a hole of students that are presumed to have seats that would be available to them, but it's still reserved land in a PD. It's not done that way. And in terms of the infrastructure question, the standard that we have been applying and what we've been looking at is the availability of infrastructure at the time that the school opens. There are instances where a school opens and we find that there are operational challenges that need to be addressed. Those are not what we're striving to have. So we're ideally trying to get the infrastructure available to serve the school when the school will be open, as opposed to creating a lag.
And that's my concern, because what it does is it allows for a school to open in an unsafe infrastructure supported location. Because we haven't, until the school opens, we don't have a plan for making sure that we've got the 2-mile radius requirement for sidewalk and walking. And that doesn't get applied until the day the school opens. Is that accurate?
Commissioner, we are looking at that, and this is mentioned. We're hearing that emphasis from the board, and we are looking at that prospectively in terms of school sightings. There was an example of one of those, and was when we discussed briefly this past summer, was a middle and elementary school site on Bishop Road.
Mhm.
That was a school siting request that came to us, and we did not approve it because of the infrastructure needs that existed in the area where the school was proposed, and there was not a plan or a means to provide the infrastructure to serve the school. So we found that that adequate public facilities would not be available to serve the school, and didn't approve the siting.
That's why I asked, because if it's going to take us 3 years to prepare the area for the landing of the school, to ensure that children are able to get to the school, whether they're walking or being driven there, given the additional traffic analysis, in that, for example, when we were looking at the school over at Lithia Pinecrest that got sited right there on that curve that turned out to not be such a great place, because from when it was originally sited to when it was actually going to be developed and the additional capacity in the area, it created so much traffic that there was very little way to provide safe, being able to get there safely. Given the location of the school site. So I'm trying to figure out, where did we miss it, or what do we have to do ahead of time when the site is even being considered, and looking at the infrastructure, including the traffic transit estimates for capacity in that area. You shared with us at one point in time, we had a corridor preservation, study or a corridor preservation plan that would protect a corridor for roadway. But it seems like many of the schools that we've seen cited recently are on those main corridors that are heavily trafficked, and that is of concern. So I'm trying to figure out where the ABCDE is in the sequencing to avoid running into the challenges associated with inadequate ability to provide safe walking within that 2-mile radius, now that the schools are unable to provide the courtesy busing that they were once able to do.
Before we go on here, is there more that you're going to present, Mr. Gormley, or was this a break, or is this the whole presentation?
This was, yes, I don't have, unless there's more that the board wanted, this was the introduction I intended to provide, and with the intent of setting the framework for this level of discussion.
I see. Okay, because I do have some. I have some stuff, and there's other commissioners too that I think wanted, but I really didn't want to cut off or get in the middle if you were going to provide some other information. And I'll ask for myself just a few questions right now, because I've been looking at, in particular, Orange County and what they've done about this. And they had a huge remake in 2017, beat us to it. They said it was a 2-year discussion between the school board and the county, and they had said that they hadn't discussed their school siting ordinance since 1996. I'm guessing that ours might have been a lot longer. But you stated basically, and I know I've heard before, that this is based on interlocal agreement between the county, the planning commission, and the school board. But so do we have what, I would hope that we could get that interlocal agreement to all of our board members for one, so we could look over that. But second, what do we have, if anything, in our ordinances with regards to school siting is what I'd like to understand in our land development code, wherever.
Yes, commissioners, we have a public school facilities element in the comprehensive plan.
Mhm.
And that is one of the for like regulatory controls, that's maybe a little strong term, that provides guidance for when school sites are or are not appropriate and consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Because I would like us to have copies of that as well. I think that would be something if we have, a further presentation on, so that we can outline this, in another way. Another thing that I've been, at least in my 4.5 years on the board, my experience has been that that the schools were basically cited, to my experience, within some developments, or and I was told this as well by school staff in the past, that they were always given the worst land in developments that was inaccessible and not wanted by the development, so that because the developer knew that they needed to do something for the school, and then the school paid them as well for the land, but nobody was very excited about the prospect. And they said that's what we had to do because we had no money. Well, we have very significantly increased the school impact fees after 16 years, but the school impact fees are predicated on how much money is spent, number one, on schools, so that if they need to buy property to site, for schools ahead of time, it just seems like something we don't do here or haven't done, but that is done in other areas. The other is that I've been told there's a general standard: 75 acres for high schools, 50 acres for middle schools, and 25 acres for elementary schools. But as I looked over the ordinance, for instance, Orange County, in this process, and I always thought that seemed incredibly high and provides difficulty, and is really not how we should be doing it, eating up land like this. And one thing was, their original ordinances that they were criticizing from 1996 were smaller than that already. But here's the changes that they announced, the big key changes to their plans in 2017. Changes to site size minimums. Elementary schools would drop from 15 acres to 7 to 11 acres. Again, we had 25 acres, depending on school size and location. Middle K schools would drop from 25 acres to 12 to 16 acres, depending on location. High schools would drop 65 acres to 4 to 50 acres. Again, we had 75, 50, and 25. Those are all, even to start out with, are lower than ours, but then they went way lower. And I'm wondering about us with a school siting ordinance as well, include charter schools in this, and this is done under Florida state law. They had, they had a huge, they had 2 years working on this. This is the Citizen Planner Academy that they had, where they just went through all kinds of these issues. They don't allow the siting of high schools, period, in rural, they call it their rural settlement area. It reminds me of the Oregon Trail, but that's what they call the rural service area. And this is just some of what they have out there. And I'm just thinking that I would really like to bring in some of the folks, because they brought in some consultants to work with them to come up with a new and better way to cite schools. And they cite, this is back 5 years ago, some of the exact same problems that we had in terms of infrastructure around the schools and the way that it was done. And they seem to have originally cited schools in a way that was much more robust than we've done, I think. But then they went to a far more robust way. They also have a pedestrian safety committee. I don't know what that's composed of or how, but they're apparently strong in their process on reviewing the school building. And so I just would like to really start looking at a lot more of this. And I'd like, I don't know if there's some pending fast thing that has to be done in urgency, but I think we really need to do, I would really like to not reinvent the wheel. The Orange County school system is the fourth largest in the state of Florida. I think they said, or maybe the eighth largest at the time. They have it identified. But at any rate, Orange County is approximately the land square miles that we are and the exact population that we are. Plus they have a rural service area. And they went through this in a really strong way. Just 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm thinking that it would be very valuable to kind of look at what they did and what they do and see if we can't learn from some of it, and instead of trying to reinvent the wheel. And I guess with that, I'm going to let it, I know a lot of people want to say, I'm going to call on Commissioner Smith this time.
Thank you. You know, I think, first of all, we have to admit we have a problem. Okay, it's great to understand how the process works, who is responsible for which step of each piece of planning development, along with school capacity as we grow. And that's important first step, but it's clear that process has not been working. And so it's time to come together, understand how best to change the process. Can't keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. It's not a new problem. Shields and Leonard and East Bay have been over capacity with, I believe Leonard High School had 24 portables on campus at the time that TTT, now Sumner, was coming online, supposed to alleviate that. As Commissioner Overman noted, that was over capacity at the time before it was built. And so what we're doing isn't working. I would like to share my screen if I could. Let me see how I can, let's see, full screen maybe? Nope. Here we go. There we go. Okay, wait, but first.
You aren't seeing it yet, Commissioner? It should
Are
be.
you seeing my screen?
No, Commissioner. If once you have the file open, if you go down and click the share button in the middle.
Got it. Hold on just a second. Share. There. There. Okay.
Okay, now we're seeing it.
Yeah, thank you. And this is a graphic that's been shown to us by the school district's representative in September of last year, and then again that was at the BOCC meeting, and then again at the MPO meeting last month. So most of you have seen this before. These are, where they're planning to put schools where they're saying we're running into this problem. And you can see that 4 of the schools, the ones in blue, listed in the right in blue, are reserved in PD zonings like we've been talking about. 3 of those are outside the urban service area. And if you would just look at the one number 6, the last one on the list, that's Berry Bay Farms, as an example. that was approved for rezoning for 10 times the density that agricultural land had. Do y'all know where that is? That's in the middle of nowhere. Okay. It's east of 301. It's not even on Saffold Park Drive because there's a bunch of agricultural large lots on Saffold Park Drive. So that's why this says there's no access to that site. There's lack of roadway to that site. And yet when the zoning came to us, the Board of County Commissioners, a couple of us, not just me, raised the issue of, well, what about schools? How are these people way the heck out here going to send their kids to schools? And we were told, well, look, I mean, the school district has signed off on this. They have a comment form in every zoning we see. And in this case, like in every zoning, it said they're fine with it. And it said they were reserving this 15-acre site in the rezoning. So at that point, it comes to us with the staff recommendation of approval, the school district recommendation that they're fine with where we're going to put a school. The zoning hearing master takes all their word for it and says, okay. And now it comes to us. And it's very difficult for us county commissioners to sit there in a zoning hearing and with 15 minutes or so and say, yeah, but where are they going to put the schools? I don't think this is going to work for the schools when everybody else has signed off on it before it got to us. And now the county did sign off on it. Not all of us, but the board did approve that zoning. So now it's our problem. Now the school district is saying we have to provide access and pay to improve roads and provide water way outside the urban service area, when we all know we're having a hard time providing urban services and roads and water inside and sewer inside the urban service area boundary. But suddenly it's a crisis and we need to help provide access to this site. Now, what actually is happening with that site, Berry Bay Farms, has been happening recently. As soon as they get their zoning approval, like within weeks, the school district then signs off on the prop share agreement leg. And in this case, they've got 1,047 houses out there. 663 of them, the county, the school district signed off on prop share agreements to send those children to school in Waterset. Waterset, you can see on this map, is where the 2 is, the little green circle where the 2 is. On this chart that they just showed us last month, they say Waterset is reserved in their PD rezoning, and it's got no access to. It's got problems. Now I'm going to ask Adam, has that been resolved in Waterset? Do they have access now?
Yes, Commissioner, I believe that there are 2 school sites in Waterset, and I can't tell whether this is the Waterset UU that they've been that they actually have a request for distribution on. So the PK through the K through 8 UU and Waterset that prop shares have been approved on does have roadway access. I believe that number 2 here is another site, the school site that's actually more than reserved. It's approved through the Waterset PD. It's further to the south, and the area has not been yet.
Okay.
So there's no actual roads that have made it that far south. For the one that you've had prop agreements on, that does have have access.
Thank you. And right. And so do they still need that 15 acres in Berry Bay Farms then?
We've had correspondence with the school district on that. We actually had a letter from the superintendent that was looking for some feedback on desire to move that site along, and was looking for some initial feedback from the county. And I'm sorry, when I say move it along, I mean have it go through the siting process. I have seen an engagement letter that has gone from the district to the property owner about that site. However, it has not yet been submitted to us for siting review. I'll point something out it's relevant to Berry Bay, but it's also a way that the zoning conditions have evolved for PDs that have school sites within them. I'll say that we've got some, I'd say, recent examples of where that has worked out well. In the Belmont development, just between 301 and 75, right where Baum Road comes through and becomes Paseo El Mar, there's a school site that was approved within that development. It's now Belmont Elementary School, and it's actually got a very nice layout of sidewalks and roadway connections that are connecting to that school.
And that's inside the urban service area.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Right. It just makes a lot more sense to be putting schools inside the urban service area where we are investing in urban services, rather than way outside the urban service area where, then we have to spread our water, sewer, roads, fire, everything out to accommodate that faster than we had planned in any other way to do. And so, Berry Bay was just one example to walk the commissioners kind of through how this happens, because I know our citizens are have the sense that and are asking us to fix the way that we approve development, so that we are also approving, so that we're not running into this disconnect between too much housing and not enough infrastructure, schools, roads, water, sewer, fire, all of it. And they're not wrong. I mean, that is what we need to do. Is it's clear to me that there's two places we need to look for solutions to this problem. Improving the process to involve everyone, the school district, the county commission, the planning commission, our development services staff, and transportation planners. Everyone's got to be involved in planning the siting way further upstream than what's being done now, so that as we approve development, there's an understanding of how this is going to be handled, and along with safe routes to schools. And if that's not there, then that's the point to hold up concurrency. As it is right now, I understand we're holding up concurrency by not handing out prop share agreements, but that's to development that's already been approved, and the developer has gone through a lot more investment and taking the project down the road. So it becomes more and more difficult to say, hold up, we're not ready yet. We don't have the capacity on one front or another. The farther along you go in that process, it becomes less fair to the developer, and certainly more pressure on our communities and our infrastructure. So that's one place I think I'm hoping that we'll talk to the school district about, is how we can work together farther upstream before the school board representatives are coming to MPO saying, wait, we need you to shift your whole transportation plan and put $50 million into widening this road to TTT because it's about to open. And so the other solution is to consider how we can change our planning process to, and I think these go hand in hand. If we're really looking at infrastructure while we're planning, we can also be looking at how to direct growth into the urban service area where we have urban services, where we are budgeting to provide urban services, and noting that inside the urban core, Addison Davis has said in the newspaper that they have 60 schools that are operating at under 70% capacity inside the urban core. So, it seems like in this time when the school district has a $110 million budget deficit for the next year, and they are considering selling buildings, cutting staff, that it could be, we should be working together for a win-win solution that directs growth to where they already have capacity instead of running into this problem of where they're going to build schools when they've told us at each turn, each of these last meetings, that they had no place to site schools that was not on substandard roads. And we know improving substandard roads is very expensive. So I'll stop there with those suggestions.
Thank you. And Commissioner White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Ms. Wise with respect to the goal of today's workshop. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. Are we going to just simply talk about the exact same things when we meet with the school board, or is there a plan to sort of streamline everything, perhaps through conversations with you and the superintendent? What's the goal there?
Thank you. It's a good question because we were hoping today to help formulate some of our conversation as staff that we'll have tomorrow. We of course have already dialoguing with the school district staff, and then work with you all to formulate the agenda for that April 14th meeting. We can't be all over the place. We want that meeting to be valuable to all of you, so we could start really working on some solutions.
Well, I just have 3 really high level 30,000 foot view thoughts, and I think they're applicable both inside and outside the urban service area. And although 2 of my children have now gone off to college and 1 is now in high school, I have very recently been a parent that in real life has taken kids to and from school and sat in drop off and pickup lines and that sort of thing. So I'm kind of sharing some of these ideas based upon some personal anecdotes. One is that, and it's just, I can't believe I didn't think of this first, or maybe it's already part of it, who knows? But if it's not already a part of it, I think we should add to our legislative priorities list to lobby the legislature to provide for busing just outside of a 1 mile radius versus a 2 mile radius, because kids aren't walking to school 2 miles. I mean, you may have some outliers that are doing so, but by and large, the helicopter parent generation, and I'm one of those, by the way, I don't mean that in a pejorative way, but the helicopter parent generation, you're lucky to find someone that's going to let particularly a young child walk a quarter of a mile to school. Queuing on the campuses is a huge problem. I tried to insert myself into that conversation and engage in it a few years back. I was unsuccessful. The school district traditionally has been all over the board. They don't seem to have really a structure in place to where that can be managed from the appropriate level. It's by and large left up to individual staff members at individual schools. But if the school district would agree either through a formal, I know we already have an interlocal agreement with them, so maybe it would be amending the existing interlocal agreement, but either formally or informally, if they would work with our experts on staff, our traffic engineers and whatnot, to help them come up with better queuing patterns on their campuses, it would work wonders because it would stop a lot of those cars from spilling out onto the thoroughfares, you know, be it, you know, county arterial roads or state roads or US highways, whatever the case may be. And then last, but certainly not least, Bonnie, I think it would be important for us to sit down with the school district and do a business analysis on the courtesy busing situation. So as long as that radius or halo remains at 2 miles, to the extent that that continues to be the case, we may want to do a business analysis and figure out, look, is it more economically feasible and efficient for the county to try to get all of this sidewalk infrastructure in place so quickly at such a high dollar figure? Or would it make more sense for us to just enter into an agreement with the school district to where maybe we just provide some funding for some additional courtesy busing? That business analysis, though, should be such that we're looking out for the best interest of the county commission. And the answer may be just to do the infrastructure, the sidewalks and whatnot, but who knows? Maybe an analysis would show that we're just better off providing for some additional buses. But those are my 3 high-level thoughts. And just to summarize them again, one would be to lobby the legislature to reduce that halo, getting them to work with us more on queuing of the cars on the campuses, and then doing a business analysis on infrastructure versus partnering on courtesy busing. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Kemp, this is Terry Cohen. I'd like to be recognized if you could.
Sure. I do have somebody who's had their hand up for a while. Commissioner Myers, and then I don't know, Commissioner Cohen should, I'll recognize Commissioner Myers and then I'll recognize you.
I'd like to go after everyone's talked, that's all.
Sure. And Commissioner Myers, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I just have some concerns and points that I've been sharing along the way, and particularly with our planning department. And I thank you, Adam, for sharing that we have an interlocal agreement with the school board, the county, the planning commission. I'd like to add FDOT to that. When we're talking about the new schools, and this is relating to new schools and its infrastructure, the school boards have said that it's planning to build 38 new schools. Well, with the 4 entities that would be meeting to decide, maybe they need to look at to plan where a new school will be built. Where will a fire station be located in the area? Where will we have our public facilities, meaning the library and a park facility? Then we have sidewalks that would be within a 1 or 2 mile walkable for the students to attend the school. And then you have the new housing development. During my term on the board, and while I was running as a county commissioner, I was always asked the question, how come we cannot sit down and plan where the school is going to be built, the fire station, your parks and recreation, and the library? Those are the important assets that all go along with a neighborhood, building a neighborhood. And many times we continue to find ourselves that we don't know where the school is going to be built. We don't know where the library is going to be located. We don't know where the fire station. So if we have the school board, the county commission, the planning commissioner, and bringing in FDOT, all this should be decided up front. On the front end, where a school is going to be located. And then we can build around and put a library there, put the fire station there. Then you have your development. I just think those are the key elements to building a development, and it should come together, and this should be the planning component up front first. So if we're going to say a school is going to be located, because you can only build now going south in the Waimama area, it can meet all of its needs for the infrastructure. And I'll just leave it right there. I'd like to see this as a part of our meeting with the school board of planning where the school is going to be, so that we all would know, and how all of these other entities tie in together with the new development of a school, the fire station, public library, park, and with new development. I'm through. I'm finished. Thank you so much.
I'll recognize Commissioner Cohen.
Thank you, Commissioner Kemp. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. I'm not sure. I don't.
Okay.
Maybe we didn't before.
I apologize. So I sort of want to pick up where Commissioner Myers and to some degree Commissioner Smith left off. I think that what we're all asking for here to start with is some context, and to have, you know, a real look at over the next 10 years, what do we expect the demand to be? Where do we expect it to be? Where is going to be overcapacity? Where is going to be under? What's already been approved? What hasn't been approved? So that we get some sort of a sense of the state of play. I thought that at our workshop about water, what was so helpful was that Tampa Bay Water sort of gave us a real overview so we could understand what to expect over the next decade. And I think it would be very helpful to start with that. And then the second thing really gets to something that I think Mr. Gormley talked about a little bit, but those that sit on the MPO are all very much aware of based on a meeting that we had about 6 weeks ago. This question of who is responsible for what between us and the school board, or the school district, I should say, it's not just a question of a disagreement. That's one thing, but based on who's going to do what, it also is going to affect whether or not it's going to be done with certain design exceptions or not. I mean, the school district representative told the MPO that they cannot afford the Vision Zero level of amenities on infrastructure that they're responsible for. So we need to understand what our financial burden is going to be, or responsibility, I should say, for building out infrastructure around these new schools. And, you know, if it's going to be to the 2-mile radius, if it's going to be a road that is, you know, a bit an intersection that's a few blocks away, but it's severely impacted by the school, if it's access points off of expressways, to Commissioner Myers' point about FDOT being involved, we really need to understand what our financial responsibility is going to be going forward. And I think we need to also break it out by what's already been approved and what we're sort of anticipating that's sitting out there. Thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no more hands raised, I'd just like to emphasize again, I think we do need to look at this process and figure out what's going on, as Commissioner Smith's point was. I think the process seems to me, from my vantage point, to kind of be broken, or to definitely be broken. And I look to Sumter High School, TTT, as it was called for a long time before it became Sumter High School. But I know that a few years ago at the MPO, the school board meeting, a school board member raised, just, you know, immediately wanted $5 million to widen the substandard road there, kind of shockingly, demanding that it should be done already, and it was imminently about to open. And it's the first time I even had heard about TTT or Sumter High School in this regard. And when I checked, it was not $5 million, but $40 million to do this. And so there it sits, and for how long, I don't know. And that's in the urban service area. And it just seems like we, I wonder too, Commissioner Smith, when you showed the Berry Bay with the school so far away that was supposed to, whether or not it accounts for capacity. I think, I just wonder about, I know one of the big problems the school board has as well is shifting around populations of attendees all the time. And I wonder if there should be some guarantees that this must be within 10 miles or something of where the primary capacity is, that, that's where the school must be cited, something like that. So again, we have that, trip capture in there, and we are citing it within a community. And as well, to Commissioner White's point, the 2 mile, and many, or the new board members may not know this, but because we discussed it at the MPO at length before, but it's state law that they provide for transportation, but not within 2 miles. And that is incredibly long in a lot of our dangerous areas, and a problem. But what I found out as well, Commissioner White, was that they've kept the same funding for the entire state. A few years ago, it was something like $40 million, and it's heavily subsidized already locally, just to get it to where it is, like maybe even more than our statewide allocation. But I couldn't agree with you more. I just think in this state, it should be a priority to be putting more into that funding, because it's just the way our system's arranged. I think it's really important to do. And I did have one question, because we've had some school staff who have said that we were, putting children, students, we were forcing them into double sessions and things like this if we didn't approve certain things immediately. But under concurrency in the plan, as I understand it, can that or can't that happen, or the plan is executed? I would just like to understand if, that statement being made. And
So-
I don't know, would you like Mr. Gormley?
Well, just to say that the in theory, the way concurrency should work is that there shouldn't be present overcrowding of schools. In theory, the way that it works is new student generating development would only be allowed to proceed if there were seats available for them. So, there may be other factors that drive certain schools to be over capacity, but the idea of concurrency and the whole theory of it is that we don't create a deficit when we permit new homes to be built that are going to generate students.
And I'll just say, again, for the record, I'd really like to try to engage maybe some of the consultants that help the school board and the County Commission of Orange County work through this problem, and maybe have some other ideas about proceeding forward. And I just, again, here's frequently asked questions, and this was a citizen participation workshop that they did. Why aren't neighborhood schools built anymore? Why are school sites so big? Why are schools so far from the children they serve? Why are there so many portables? And are charter schools subject to the same citing standards? And those are all just some of the things I'll just say that I'd like to understand or know. But I found this outline, the citizens participation guide that they had there, extremely helpful as a really, and by the way, it's a PowerPoint that's 40 or 50 pages long, shows all the school locations, populations, projected populations, and seems to indicate that they acquire the sites. It just seems a little bit different process. So anyway, I would really like us to see if we could benefit from that. Again, raising that. And I guess seeing no further hands up at this time, I don't know if Ms. Wise, Mr. Gormley, you'd like to speak to us about any of this?
No, and we appreciate you all being so candid with us. We know that this problem did not occur overnight, and it is going to take some working together, perhaps with a consultant and some assistance, to work through these very hard issues. So we thank you for that guidance. We will have the meeting with the staff tomorrow. In preparation, we'll be getting with you, each of you individually in between as well, and try to get that meeting to be fruitful. And I suspect it will be the first of many. And I don't know, Adam, if you have anything else to add to that.
Nothing to add. Just thank you very much for the time. The input was very, very helpful for us, for me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. And with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Thank you.